introduction? Is that tonight?
It's from Miko, but it's about to be off the hook. It'll be like the club.
Okay,
I mean, it'll be just as live as Erykah Badu, to be honest with you.
So we down
Come
here
with me.
at Inspiration.
So we're
AM 1050, 103.1. We got Carl in the house.
He wanted to be with you, but he's sick. He got boogers. Tell Damien
This
we're
is
praying
Melvin
for his
is in the
boogers
house.
and mucus.
Dr. Melvin in the house. We got Nikki
I
Bean.
We'll never
There's
get
Brittany
Dr.
Long
Melvin
back
in
there
here
getting it in.
That's
We get ready to tape Your Inspiration Health. Sponsored by our health care partners at Mercy Health. Big Carl back there producing. Carl in the house. There it is.
We
there it
need
is.
Carl B on
Shout
here.
out. Don't forget to give Damien a shout out. He's not feeling well.
Damien, we praying for your boogers.
Damien, we praying. I don't know what that means, Damien, but we praying. I'm not praying for. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Damien. Me and Dr. Melvin are not endorsing that, but we do pray for you, my brother. Get better. You understand?
all you have to do is just be well, you already know.
Brittany, show me how to rotate the camera.
You give me tips.
She's not going to talk. Brittany probably sit there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, I don't know. 'Cause I
Brittany,
don't
you'll
have
be
an
right
iPhone.
here then.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have an
Brittany,
iPhone. I don't
Kurt,
know.
you
Yes,
going
ma'am.
there for right now.
Yeah,
And Brittany going
Brittany
next to
slash Kurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys will be
Kurt,
right.
You want me
Brittany,
in
and
first?
Come on, Cassandra, come over here. She gonna sit.
Wait,
next
you
to
want me
Dr.
on there first?
You going first with Dr. Melvin. Melvin going first, and then we're.
So he doing his segment first.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna do the Brittany segment.
Yep.
Got it. And what's Dr. Melvin's is doing what?
Minority health.
Minority Health Month. Okay.
And I mean, for real, we can go ahead.
So I'm
and get
just
into
following-
Brittany.
I'm gonna
So
be
that's why
the-
Brittany need to be there.
I'm gonna be the Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson.
Hey,
I'm just
y'all
following your
right
lead.
here.
You got where I'm going with that?
We got
Okay.
Keith Melvin
Okay.
in the house.
You like that? Huh?
Yes, Kurt Billings over there. You got Carl B. Mrs. Cassandra Melvin looking
You live?
beautiful. Yep.
What up,
We are
everybody?
live.
What up?
Brittany Long is
What up?
here.
What's up, y'all?
We are going live, and we will be talking about minority health, and how Dr. Melvin feeds us Reese Cups and Kit Kats. And how I divorced them, and I no longer have that relationship with them.
This is classic. I love
I'm
this.
telling the truth, Dr. Melvin, when was the last time I've been in your office? He'll
Well,
tell
you
you.
were
I
in
don't.
yesterday,
But I didn't eat nothing.
I'm not sure about that.
And we got into it.
Put her out there, Dr. Melvin. Put her out there.
But, you know, evidentially, her evidence has always been Nikki leaves her wrappers on my desk
Yep.
or in the drawer, so I know she's been there.
Pulling back so I can get Nikki
but,
face.
You know, that might be easy for her to become inconspicuous because I believe that she's been in there.
No.
Just hasn't left any records. I really do.
I have not been in there. I have not.
Nikki, you
been in
speaking in
there.
the doctor's office?
No, I have not ate a Reese Cup or a Kit Kat. And then he had the nerve to open the drawer talking about something. Hey, Nikki, come in here. Come in here. You ain't been in here. I feel some type of way. What's
I want to see the level of motivation that she really is.
Keep moving. Keep it
really
moving.
wanna know. I wanna know what
Ain't
she's
gonna
really
happen.
doing.
I'm
You
not
really
eating
want to
Reese
see what she
Cup.
really is?
Because
It's a test, Nikki.
you know, but
I know.
the thing about it, Nikki, is that I still have some reserve candy under the desk, and I'm going to empty all that into my drawer so that you guys can just get rid of it for me.
That's right.
I just don't want to throw it.
We just gonna wait a
Now,
drawer.
I ain't gonna lie, I did eat up 2 sleeves of the
Sleeves?
shortbread.
Shortbread.
Girls, but this was before.
Sleeves?
Yeah, but this was before our conversation about
Okay, about relationship with food.
Yes.
Okay.
Why he keep saying
Okay.
sleeves?
Right, because
Because she said it like I did have
Yes,
two.
sleeves.
She said I
Everybody
did
know
have
you
two
cannot
sleeves.
There's
just
2
eat
sleeves in a box.
one.
That's right. So she ate the box.
Well,
Wait, but he had
Why don't
his
you just
box.
say that?
That's how he knows that I leave evidence, so he'll know it was me. He don't have to blame nobody else. I opened the box and I left the empty box under his desk in his hidden spot, so he knew
That was
I
you.
ate it. Then I waited till he came back
breathe.
to let him know I found the box, and me and Cassandra indulged in the box.
I was really upset.
She done put you out there, sis. What's going on with? She done threw you
And
under
she
the bus.
said, "Oh, this good."
Lord
I said,
have
"I know.
mercy.
I would need some milk."
Oh man.
You know, I was supporting the Girl Scouts, so I bought 5 boxes of those shortbread cookies.
Uh-huh.
You know, the sad thing is that I actually wanted a few cookies, and they're all gone.
And you didn't even get a chance to, and you made the investment.
All the ladies in the office ate up the cookies. I just can't believe it. And I was going to reward
You
them
talking to the mic.
Talking, you ready to do a test?
I'm recording. No,
He already started cooking.
Oh, you are. That's right. He likes to catch everything. Yeah, and he'll edit later. That's right. He edits.
I was going to reward the ladies when they were doing well in terms of the work.
Right.
And as it turns out, the boxes are all gone.
The boxes are all gone.
boxes are all gone.
Who do we have to thank for that,
So
Nikki?
I have not eaten those cookies though in the last probably month. I've demolished 2 boxes at least on my own, and I'm okay with it. I understood. You get Girl Scout cookies what, once a year? It's okay.
But they stay for like 2 years. They don't ever expire.
It's okay. I don't want them to even think about expiring. I don't want to lose the thought that the cookies was there. And anybody,
Look at this guy. Look at Carl.
I don't want Dr. Melvin to waste his money.
Look at Carl.
Is that what
Don't waste your money. I'm going to eat those cookies
Once
for
again,
you.
we down here live at Inspiration AM 1050, 103.1 FM. We are in the house. We got Dr. Melvin down here, Mrs. Melvin. We got Nikki Bean. There's Carl in the house. Brittany Long is here to talk about health and wellness. And Dr. Melvin's going to talk about... that's my man. How many pounds you down, Dr. Melvin? How many you down? How many you down, Dr. Melvin?
I'm down 24 pounds.
24 pounds.
In 6
That
months.
is
In
how
6
you
months.
lose
You hear
weight.
that?
6 months.
Listen to that. 6 months. Did you have to work for that?
Yes, I did.
Come on, man. So this thing is about work, y'all. It's about the discipline. So you want to give a shout out to Dr. Melvin. He has lost the weight. For everybody that's going to be watching this, it is doable, but you must put the work in. You have to put the work in.
Let's go ahead and just
But
start.
you know what
I
they
mean,
say, if there's no struggle, there's no progress.
Come on, y'all.
no
Y'all
struggle,
hear that?
no progress.
Y'all hear that?
Progress if there's no struggle.
That's it.
Yeah.
It is.
This is it,
So
y'all.
what did you do, Dr. Melvin? Like, tell us, how did you put the process into
Well,
place?
introduce him first.
Well, this is Dr. Keith Melvin. We are your Inspiration Health Live already, and we are excited to have one of the best male physicians,
No doubt.
African-American male
No doubt
physicians
about it. No doubt
in
about it.
Cincinnati, Ohio, here with us. It is a pleasure
Yes, it
to
is.
have Dr. Keith Melvin.
It
It's actually
sure
an
is.
honor
It
to
sure
have
is.
Dr.
That's
Keith
right.
Melvin
That's exactly
here with
right.
us. So tell us what, as we've been talking about relationship with food, what have you done to get rid of these 24 pounds?
Actually, first of all, I had to get motivated. The truth is, Nikki, about 4, 5, 6 months ago, I wasn't feeling that well. And I was tired. I couldn't seem to sleep well. I didn't have the energy that I should have had. And I really got upset with myself. And so to do this thing right, I actually went to see Dr. Joe Hackworth. I had a stress test. The stress test came out normal. I was using my CPAP machine, which I had not been using. And I joined FitWorks. I didn't go, but I decided that I needed to dedicate myself just like I did when I came to medical school in 1975. And so I drove over to the medical school. Then I drove over to Good Sam Hospital where I did some of my training. And then I went to Skyline Chili over on Ludlow because I used to go there all the time when I was in medical school. And so I rededicated myself. I went over and ate my last Skyline Chili on Ludlow, and I said, this is it. I'm going to be just as dedicated. I even drove by my first apartment when I came back to Cincinnati at Clifton Colony. And so after I did all that, I rededicated myself, and I said, this time I'm really for real. I'm going to be as dedicated as I was as a freshman in medical school. And that meant I was willing to sacrifice almost everything just to get this done. And now 6 months later, I'm down 24 pounds. I work out 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes only 10 or 15 minutes at a time, but I go 3 or 4 times a week. And I don't hardly drink any alcohol. I drink 1, maybe 2 drinks on a Friday, Saturday, but I hardly drink any alcohol. And there is not a loaf of bread in my house. There are no potatoes in my house. And now I'm eating very, very little pasta. My breakfast consists of greens and spinach and maybe a scrambled egg, maybe 2 sausages and greens, spinach, green beans. And so I eat a lot more green vegetables. I don't eat salads, mind you, but I eat spinach, greens, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and green beans, and that's what I really eat for breakfast. And so it hasn't been that difficult now that, they say it takes 30 days to make a habit, and now that I've been doing it for about 4 months for sure, I just do this on a regular basis. So the truth is, just like everybody has said all along, it is a change in your lifestyle. Right. It is not a diet. A diet gives you something to quit. And so I've quit many diets. It's like I got people that have been smoking for 50 years, but they've quit hundreds of times. And so the same thing with a diet. People have done all kinds of diets. They've done everything in every book, on every internet, and that hasn't worked. And so all I did was just dedicate myself, use my own perseverance, my own motivation, and my own inspiration. And now what you see is what you get.
Ooh, and we see it. We see them 24 pounds gone. As you were talking, I want to bring Brittany in real quick. Tag her in. Hey, Brittany. We've got Brittany Long. She is from Yep Fitness. Woo, woo, one of the best personal trainers we have here in the city. She is awesome. She actually helped me to lose almost 40 pounds before. So he was talking about like the greens and things like that. because I gained some of it back by going to your office and indulging.
Call her out. That's it.
But Nikki has gained so much knowledge in these past, 4 years since I've known you. So she knows how to get it right back off. She keeps motivating herself and others that surround her. So she's doing great. She is.
Just tell her, just don't blame it on the black.
That's right. That's right.
That's
right.
So you talked about having greens for breakfast, and for me that's odd, but I personally do like greens. I'm addicted right now to organic collard greens. How do you prepare your greens?
There's no real meat. I'll be honest. I use the frozen greens, the chopped greens or whatever, the collard greens, and I use the spinach that's frozen. And I've tweaked it most of the time because I do mix it with 1 can of the Glory Green.
Hey, that's
and
it.
then the
There
flavoring is really nice, and so that's all I've done is just cooked it in that, and I've got a big old bowl full of it, and Cassandra and I eat it for breakfast, like 5 days a week, and then we switch up and go to green beans, then we switch and go to broccoli, then we come back to the greens, and usually the greens are also mixed with spinach. So we go back to the greens and spinach mix. And actually, it's very good. The best thing, I think about it too, Kurt, and he probably knows it, is that I'm not hungry the rest of the morning, and I'm not even hungry at lunchtime, because I've actually had more of a protein vegetable mix versus carbohydrates. If you eat carbs, now I'll be honest, I do bring the staff hash browns from McDonald's almost every morning.
Preach.
And then they fight over who's going to get the last 1 or 2. But Kurt, I don't eat those either.
You don't eat them either.
I want to just say that's how the devil slides on in the office as we, talk about this on Christian radio. The devil will do what he has to do for him to make sure he is right, but he gonna make sure he bring those greasy hash browns.
I call it Dr. Melvin's competitive nature. I think that what the brother's doing is showing that he has that discipline, and he's strongly encouraging everybody else in the office to practice the same level of discipline, Nikki. That's also a way you can look at that situation.
That ain't right.
No, Kurt, you're exactly right. No, it is that, because the fact is, I really, out of a 4-day week, I might eat 1 hash brown out of the 4 days.
Wow.
I tend to bring them, and then they get mad when I go 2 or 3 days where I don't stop and bring those. And actually, I just bring them because usually there's nothing to eat. They haven't had breakfast. They've gotten to work a lot earlier than me. I get there at 8:45, quarter to 9 o'clock. I'm supposed to be there at 8:30, but I'm pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm stopping at McDonald's, and if I don't stop there, I also stop at UDF or somewhere. Yeah. And I buy the vitamin water.
Okay.
And that's what I drink all day long. And then I got a pitcher and jug of water. Which one of them fixes for me, and I try to drink that.
And try to drink water.
I drink the water. I drink the vitamin water so I can have some flavor. Now, I've got 0 vitamin water.
Okay.
Because the vitamin water has 27 grams, but the 0 vitamin water has only 3 grams of carbohydrates.
Really?
And so, once again, this whole thing is just what the Atkins diet is, and all these others that you call by whatever name you make up. Is the truth is you have to reduce the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating, and further, you have to change whatever you've done to get to where you are, because that's not where you want to continue to be. So I stopped doing what I had been doing. So now I just eat better, and I'm not even great at eating. I just eat better than I was, and I don't drink the alcohol that I was drinking, and I exercise some. I'm doing 3 days a week easily for the last 4 months.
Right.
Sometimes 5, sometimes 4 days. And sometimes, Kurt, I'm only there for 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I might only walk 5 minutes on the treadmill, but I walk at my incline is 10 and my speed is 4. And in 5 minutes, my heart rate's up.
The heart rate's up.
140.
That's it.
And I am winded.
That's right.
But I feel pretty good in 5 minutes, and then I do the machines at 20 to 25 reps, maybe just one time, and I go through 9 or 10 machines, and then I go home.
Wow. And Nikki, can I jump in there real quick? I mean, the thing about it, so I'm hearing Dr. Melvin, there's a theme I'm picking up on. Number one is you don't have to be so rigid in terms of creating a different lifestyle for yourself. Yes. How important is it for you? And Brittany, I want you to chime in on macro and micronutrients, because when you went back to your greens conversation in the morning, he's talking about getting the adequate amount of nutrients out of the foods that he's eating. But when it comes to the lifestyle change, how important is it for you to not be so rigid in your approach and to say, Kurt, I'm just making healthier choices? And why is that important?
Well, it's important because you can comply with that. The whole thing, the problem that we have in our community is that we are non-compliant or non-adherent. And that's how we are when we're talking about taking medications for diabetes, for high blood pressure, for cholesterol. The whole thing is that we're just non-compliant or non-adherent. You're not adhering to the things that you know you should do, and you don't comply with what the doctors and so forth have recommended. And so that becomes a problem, and that's the habit that you have created for yourself. The same thing for me. They tell me on a piece of paper that I'm supposed to exercise 30 or 60 minutes 3 times a week or whatever. That's another one of those dietary patterns. I'm going to do what I can do and make it fit into my schedule. Sometimes on Friday, Cassandra and I go in the morning. Sometimes I go in the evenings. Sometimes on Saturday, I go in the afternoon. Sunday, I might not go at all. Then again, I might go after church, change my clothes. Now, the other thing I've done too, Kurt, is that the kinds of clothes that I'm wearing now, I'll be honest, I spent $1,000 at the Nike store, the Puma store, and Under Armour. So I bought all these new clothes because I was losing weight. And so instead of wearing my extra large clothes, I bought larges. And now I'm in the larges and they're looking good on me. So I had a target just because I said, I'm going to be making sure these clothes that I'm now buying look good on me. So all of this stuff was part of this mission that I decided when I went to Skyline, Chile, when I drove past the Clifton Colony where I lived in 1975 when I first came to medical school as a freshman. So this is even 35, 40 years ago. But at that time, I said I'm going to dedicate myself to do better just like I did when I came to medical school at a very difficult, challenging time in my life. And this is, once again, I'm turning 66 in a week. It's another difficult, challenging time in my life. It's the third act of a 3-act play, and I want to make sure that I can have an encore.
Wow! And so for those of you that can't see Dr. Melvin, Nikki's doing a live feed. I'm taping it, but the brother looks absolutely amazing. His wife is gorgeous. So here's the other benefit of living a healthier lifestyle. It does improve the whole quality of the person. I mean, from your appearance to your speech to your energy levels, the whole thing. But Brittany, I was noticing as Dr. Melvin was speaking about his 5-minute workout, sometimes it's 10 minutes, and you were nodding in approval. What was going through your head at that point? What were you agreeing with?
A lot of it is kind of moving away from those strict challenges that you see online and those games people kind of want to play to reach certain 20 pounds in 10 days. It becomes so strict that people get frustrated and they lose motivation even quicker. So what I try to push and emphasize to my clients is make those small lifestyle changes. Literally 5 minutes a day instead of for taking the elevator, take the steps and walk the parking lot. Those small changes will reap huge benefits in the long run, and you'll find that it becomes natural, that when you don't get to get outside and get your vitamin D, that you feel uncomfortable and you're forced to go do something that's active, like doing squats at your desk in between, like during your breaks. Another thing that Dr. Melvin touched on was the greens for breakfast. It's nutrient dense. And I've talked to Nikki a lot about this. And I know a couple weeks ago you were talking about food as fuel, breaking up with what food is to you and what it means to you. Once you find that you could eat that Flamin' Hots for breakfast, literally 200 calories, it was so delicious with cream cheese, but it was so low in nutrients. You can find a 200-calorie meal that's dense in nutrients, like tuna salad, crackers, carrots, cucumbers, greens, and all of that equals 200 calories. And so you'll find that you'll fill up much quicker, longer throughout the day, even though it's not as indulgent as those Flamin' Hots. You'll find yourself going 3-4 hours and feeling full and feeling comfortable and not using those quick carbohydrates like those breads, pastas, donuts, coffees with lots of sugar in it, and then falling an hour later because now you kind of need a pick-me-up.
Dr. Melvin also touched on something else. He talked about the heart rate. And Kurt, I want you to jump in here, you and Brittany both, on this. How important is it to get that heart rate up? I know I met with Kurt. I actually, sometimes when I'm walking on the track, if I see his car pull up, I'll run down there and mess with him, even though I know I'm indulging on somebody else's time. But one day I met him and he was like, 15 minutes, we're going to get your heart rate up. And I'm like, wow. But I was so tired and felt so good after that 15 minutes. Talk a little bit about that heart rate. heart rate.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm no expert at this stuff, but I do understand the concept of being in a maximum fat burning zone and being in a target heart rate zone. It used to be back in the old days, they would say you had to work out an hour or 2 hours, and people would basically live in the gym. Now the science is starting to catch up with the activity, and we're learning it doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out, hour-a-day rigid experience. You can literally burn and have an effective workout and burn a sufficient amount of calories within a 10 to 12 minute, maybe 15-minute block. And what they're calling that now is burst training. But what it's predicated on is heart rate monitor training. And so that's why when Dr. Melvin says, Kurt, I'll get on there 5 minutes, do an explosive movement, and my heart rate goes up and I feel great and I know I'm burning calories. That's the science of it. So it's not about, being so rigid, even what we're eating and even in the levels of activity. You would be surprised from a medical perspective, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, what type of results, tremendous positive results your body will have just from moderate exercise. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing. And if we can impress that upon people, I think that's an important part. Dr. Melvin, you want to add anything to that?
Well, there's one thing too. My resting heart rate is probably maybe 72 or whatever. That's kind of an average for people that are listening. And my objective is to almost double that in the 5 minutes. So I've pushed the incline and my speed stays at around 4, but I pushed the incline up to 10 because I've noticed that in 5 minutes I am right about 138. So my heart rate is pretty much just about doubled. Now, sure, I could go longer, and there were times in the beginning of my workout when I was actually doing 10 minutes almost all the time. Now, I've probably gotten lazy, like we do, and I like the 5 minutes because I like pushing that 5 minutes real hard. And when I see that I'm in 130s, 134, 136, I'm actually breathing hard and working hard. Now, I am also having to reflect on the reality that I am 66 years of age. So I'm not still a 35, 40, 45-year-old person. So I am really been deconditioned for 25 to 30 years. And so I think some of the reality for all of us, and that's why they say, get a stress test, make sure the doctor says that it's okay for you to do, if you will, rigorous exercise. Let's recognize that rigorous exercise is a relative term. It's what's rigorous for you,
exactly.
You and you.
That's right.
And so for me, I've learned that even in 5 minutes, I can almost double my heart rate. And that's kind of good enough for me, especially on the days when I realize it's 7:35. I can't go really past 8 o'clock because at that point, I've got to go do something else for my life. So I've only got 20 or 25 minutes. 5 minutes on the treadmill at a very tough rate, an incline of 10, speed of 4, and in 5 minutes, I'm really going like mad.
I get it.
And after that, I walk to the machines, and then I go and start to do them. And the first thing I do is go to one that at least can sit down and kind of cool down enough from just a 5-minute exercise. So this makes it comfortable for me. And then I do my upper body and my leg work. And 25, 30 minutes later, I'm going on back out the door, but I'm feeling really good. And then I sleep better. No question about it.
You released all the right endorphins. And I think that's another important point. When you deal with it from a scientific and medical perspective in terms of using heart rate, it is relative at that time. So because part of the formula is taking the number, which is 220 minus a person's age. So if you take 220 beats per minute minus your age, you will have your max heart rate. And what Dr. Melvin is saying, okay, Kurt, once I know my max, I start to stay within those fat-burning zones. The other neat thing that I want everybody to pick up on what the doctor is saying is he goes right from that cardio. Once he gets the heart rate excited, he moves right into his strength. And the reason that's effective, because what happens is he takes that higher target heart rate into the strength training. Therefore, now he's increasing his ability to burn fat and calories. It also does a thing what we call EPOC, which is excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. In the old days, we used to call it afterburn. Now everything is scientific and everybody has to come up with a wordy thing. But it used to just be called afterburn. What that means, the type of workouts that Dr. Melvin is doing, he benefits 36 to 40 hours after he's done the work. And he's doing all of this in 30 to 40 minutes. And this is legit. This is all over. I mean, there's a fitness model. I won't say their name on the air because they didn't pay us. But I will tell you this. There's a model out there right now that is based on heart rate training. And they have opened up over 400 locations across the country. I think they're on their way to the next 500 or 600. And you can't even buy a franchise if you wanted to, because people are no longer willing to rent treadmills. Most people now, if they come to your facility, they want results-based fitness, because they need something they can take back to the physicians and say, it's working, and here's how I know it's working.
Right. I want to jump into Brittany. Brittany, so we were sitting here talking, and I was listening to Dr. Melvin talk about, how he eats greens and stuff for breakfast. But I want to touch on people who don't like certain foods for breakfast, such as me. So when I first met Brittany, she had a check. Well, let me tell you what I do like. It's a little easier. So my breakfast that I like to have eggs. I like to scramble an egg. I like to have a couple pieces of bacon. Sometimes I might like to have a piece of toast with it. And I might even like to put a little bit of grape jelly on it. On the weekends, we haven't done this in a long time because I gave all this stuff to my neighbor. But we used to, weekends were made for pancakes and homemade potatoes, and we would have eggs and stuff as well. But during the week, because I noticed I don't eat like that as much in the morning anymore. In the morning now, I'll usually have 2 eggs and 2 slices of the Private Selection center cut bacon because it's less. But I have that now because it doesn't make me groggy throughout the day, and I'm not as grumpy when I get there with Dr. Melvin. So I have that. But Brittany, what would you recommend?
Ask me that.
Right. Second opinion on that one.
What would you say is a good plated breakfast?
So I don't look at my eating, and I encourage clients and customers not to look at eating as breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that was created by society to sell. That's all production and money based. And so you have to have eggs and biscuits and gravy for breakfast, and you have to have a sandwich and soup for lunch, and then whatever your dinner is, steak and potatoes. So I look at them as meals, bigger meals or smaller meals as your snacks. And my carbs are typically in the morning to give me a burst of energy. Carbs and fats before your workout, proteins and fats after your workout, and later throughout the day. And so the idea, and this is what I did with Nikki, was I said, well, give me the foods that you like. Remember that chart? And I marked all the foods that you liked. And I said, let's find 2 go-to meals. 2 meals that you can eat on the go that you will not get sick of, that's nutrient dense, and it still has flavor. You can change it up. Nikki is... I would say a hoarder of appliances. She has every single appliance known to man, and
juicers, everything.
Juicers, air fryers, everything. And I would say invest in something that makes food that you like. So if that's a smoothie or a juicer, air fryers are really big right now. And if that's going to create that meal that's nutrient dense and balanced, that's what I would shoot for your breakfast. And I know we're going to get into this a little bit, but I lost up to 90 pounds. And my 2 go-to meals, despite...
You lost 90
yes,
pounds?
I was over my 216 pounds. I was up there.
So I'm going to jump in real quick because I want to bring something back to Brittany's memory.
Brittany was 260
Yes, I
pounds.
have to show you a picture. And it's
at it.
funny because one day Brittany worked me to the max, and I actually had an attitude. I don't know if you remember this. This was when they were in the valley. And I was so mad at her. And I looked at her, and I almost had tears. I was like, you don't understand what it's like to be fat. Look at you. You're skinny. And then the next day, she showed me this picture, and I was like, well, who is that?
And didn't even recognize. But I kind of, the reason why I wanted to push that, she said, you need to start telling people your story because they think the journey just stops once you lose the weight, or that we don't have those same struggles as you continue to drop weight. And it's all up and down. It's going to trend downward over years, over the course of 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 6 years. But it's difficult, and it's lifestyle changes that you just need to kind of cope with. But the same thing I did with Nikki, I found my 2 go-to meals, no matter what, every day I ate them because it was easy and it was inexpensive. My 2 meals, oatmeal and a smoothie. Why? Because I could travel with it, put it in a container, microwave it wherever I'm at. That's going to be different for Nikki. She doesn't like eggs. She doesn't like, there's corn. It's the weirdest things that she doesn't like, but she found her go-to quick snack meals and how to prepare them. And that's the biggest thing, making sure that you have your complex carbs. Rice is not the devil. Guys, eat your rice in moderation. Eat your sweet potatoes in moderation. We're not talking about fried, deep fried, Chinese fried. No, we steam your rice. A little bit of salt, pepper, cilantro. Same thing with your sweet potatoes or white potatoes. But those are great sources of carbs to give you that energy. Then you're looking at your healthy fats. She doesn't like yogurt, but yogurt, eggs, those are great healthy fats. Avocado, coconut oil. If you're not a big, those are Nikki's shaking her head because she just hates everything I just named. But you can sneak healthy fats into your eating. But if you're already at a surplus of fatty foods, look to not add that to your meals, like cutting back on the mayonnaise and cutting back on the cheese. And then your lean, we say lean proteins, but your protein sources. And so as a vegetarian, plant-based, I'm not a strict vegan, but people always ask me, well, since you don't eat meat, where do you get your protein from? I get my protein from where the animals get their protein from, plants. So you can find nuts, leafy greens that Dr. Melvin was speaking on. You can do your tofu or your CN. All those things are great sources on top of your chicken, lean beefs, fish. So just kind of a balanced plate. But myplate.org is a great source to find how to break up your plates. And then one other thing, Nikki, that I taught you was start using saucer plates, the ones that you put your mug on, instead of for gigantic plates that we bought from Macy's that have all these creative designs on. Leave those in the cupboard for, nice dinners, but eat off saucer plates because those are typically what our portion sizes should be.
Brittany, just as you said that, for the past year, Cassandra and I only used a little small plate. We haven't used our big plates. It's just the two of us. We're our last child is in college, graduating. We only used the little plates. We just haven't done it. And we haven't bought potatoes in several years. And one of the reasons I had to get rid of potatoes because it was my problem.
Yep.
It was my trouble child. And the last time I had potatoes in my house, I peeled 14 potatoes to fry with onions.
Wow.
14 potatoes for me, Cassandra, and our son, Sean. And I knew the reason I peeled 14 is because we were going to fight over who was getting the seconds on the fried potatoes. And so the dinner meal was just that. And when I looked at that, I said, I can't believe that as a doctor, a person who clearly knows better, that I'm sitting up here and make a meal. And I peeled 14 potatoes, which essentially was a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and that's what we were going to have for dinner. And when I looked at that day, and that whole bowl was full of those potatoes, I said, Christ said, that's it.
Right.
I said, that's the end of that for me because got potato chips in the cupboard. We got these potatoes you're going to fight over, and tomorrow I might have to buy some more potatoes so we can fix some more of them. And I said, that's just it for me. And I haven't had potatoes. We haven't bought potatoes in 3 or 4 years. But that was for me, if nothing else, that was my worst of my meals and my foods that I like. Now, I still occasionally get potatoes when I'm out. I get a baked potato with just butter, and I'll be honest, you go somewhere in a nice restaurant, I get that great big old baked potato, and they got to bring me extra butter because when I'm out, I do like to reward myself for the good work that I'm doing all along, and that's how I like the baked potato. Yep. But I have learned, and I'm going to see what Brittany says regarding it, because I have learned to eat the sweet potato, and I really don't put anything on it. I've actually learned, and I never liked a lot of different foods, but I've learned to just carve out that sweet potato and just eat that, and it's actually become pretty good. I'm eating that with greens, and my potato is a sweet potato with nothing on it, maybe shook pepper on it or something like that. I might have shaken pepper. Nice. So it's just an interesting thing that I've actually just changed the way I've been eating things just in general. But no more donuts. They're really good when you get them, Krispy Kreme donuts. You nuke them. They're really good. You eat 3 or 4 of them. You can't hardly help it. Glass of milk or whatever. But I've just stopped doing it. My only thing that I say that I eat on a fairly regular basis, Cassandra likes ice cream sandwiches, and I like those fruit bars from Kroger, and I like
another hallelujah with ice cream sandwich. We get them, man. We get them.
I eat 2 of the orange fruit bars from Kroger's, and they are very good. I'll eat 2 at a time, and I throw her an ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we do. We do like that with each other, but Many times that's after we've already been over to FitWorks and worked out.
Nice.
We've already had our water and so forth, and we'll come home and I throw her and I get it out and I throw it over. She catches it with one hand. She catches the ice cream, the round one. You know, you got to have the pinwheel one. The center, the rectangular one is not as good. You got to have the round one. The pin one. I throw it like this. She catches it with one hand. And I have two of my orange popsicles from Kroger's, the Kroger's fruit bars. I eat 2 of them. But that's what that's our reward for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to deprive myself. I'm just not going to do it all the time. I'm not going to deprive myself, but I'm not going to abuse myself.
Nice.
Well, unfortunately, time is wrapping up. Brittany, I want you to jump in and say what you had to say, though.
Well, all I was going to say is really quickly, when your trainer, your doctor, or physician, when they're coming to you and they say no more or stop eating, look at that as cut back. So like Dr. Melvin said, don't keep it and stock it in your fridge. But when you go out, enjoy yourself. Nikki, I told this to you. You were eating, I think it was like some type of bacon, and you were having these glorious dinners. And I said, just don't keep it in the fridge so you're eating it every day. When you're out, enjoy yourself. But no typically means just cut back. And you can stop telling yourselves that I'm not eating any more carbs or I'm not eating any more white bread. Just cut back on it.
You know, I have diabetes, so I'm a diabetic, adult onset diabetic. I take my medication. I take a hormone injection, Victoza, and I take Invokana, the one that makes you pee out your sugar. But my A1C, the target for hemoglobin A1C is less than 6.5. Mine is 5.3 yesterday. So my diabetes is well controlled. The high blood pressure I have is well controlled, and my cholesterol is very good. So I have all those things, but they're all very well controlled. And most of the control is just by me having just exactly what you all have recommended.
That is
I've
good.
changed my
Good
lifestyle.
stuff.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and so that brings us into the minority health segment of what we're talking about. So you just kicked us in, and I'm so glad to have you here again in the studio with us talking about the minority health and diabetes and hypertension.
Dr. Melvin.
So glad to have you again. So let's discuss minority health. And Brittany and Kurt, I want to make sure you guys definitely jump in here during this conversation. But Dr. Melvin, speak a little bit just on minority health and some of the things we need to be doing.
Well, you know, minority health, and that's an interesting title for it. The fact is, we in our community are suffering from the same diseases, and all of them have a relationship to what we've been consuming as a culture. Diabetes is because of too much sugar and carbohydrates. Elevated cholesterol and hypercholesterolemia is from too many saturated fats. And of course, hypertension, even though it's a genetic predisposition, it is from shaking too much salt, or sodium is the problem. And so those are the things that I call it black man's disease. And I will tell you, you see 25 or 30 patients a day, 4 or 5 days a week, 30 days a month, 365 days a year. That's what we deal with all day long.
Wow.
We're dealing with people that are eating too much salt,
That's right.
eating too much fat, and eating too much sugar. That's what has happened in our community. And of course, that's for a long, long time. And that is a predilection for you to developing diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, and hypertension. And what happens when you have those? You get heart disease, cerebral vascular disease, and kidney disease. That's just what happens.
That's right.
And then it's 25 and 30 years later, the horses are already gone, and then you come back to me, and I'll say that now that you've had a heart attack and all these other things, now we want to try to fix the problem. The problem is we must be in our community proactive and not reactive. We've been a reactive society all along, and that is not a good position to be in.
Wow.
I always say if you're reacting, it makes you have to protest. And when you protest, nobody cares. It falls on deaf ears. So the fact is, the truth is, just like in everything in our society, we as a people of African Americans have to be proactive. We have to eat better and live better. And if you do get some of these diseases, you have to follow the recommendations that the healthcare provider has advised you to do.
That's right.
You actually have to do it. And then you have to go to Brittany and Kurt, and you have to find a way to get your exercise. And just as you've heard with me, you only have to exercise 10 or 15. You have to exercise on a regular basis.
Right.
However that fits into your schedule, that's what you have to do. Eating is the same way. You have to eat according to how you can make that work into your lifestyle. And I think that's what we all have to do. We can't have fat kids. We can't have kids that are just eating. You know, you go to certain stores on the 1st of the month, and everybody at the stores got 2 baskets, 2 buggies full of all of the prepared stuff. Wow. They got all the chicken tenders. I got a kid the other day, and we said, "Do you ever eat baked chicken?" He said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's because he knows what chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, chicken rings, and chicken sandwich." But he didn't know what a baked chicken was. He didn't even know what it was.
Wow.
So it's an interesting thing in our community. So that's where minority health is. Minority health is, the fact is, we are a minority of people who've been eating bad, unhealthy things for a long, long time. And so once again, it's a habit that we've got to break. And so we have to break it individually in our family. Then your family can break their habits, and then those people around the community can break theirs.
I love it. You know, as I'm listening to you talk, and I was reminding, again, we want to thank Dr. Keith Melvin here for being here today and being so transparent and sharing. Brittany Long is here from Spark Total Nutrition and Yep Fitness, and we want to thank both of these guys for being here. You know, I was reminded of the previous segment that we did, and where you talked about going out and buying those clothes, right?
Yes.
And how you use that as a motivation to get you where you need to be. And then I heard you talking about Nikki, even though you were doing it tongue in cheek, you're saying, hey, she has every device that you could have in terms of nutrition, juicers, and okay. And what it sounds like to me, the main point is you guys are encouraging a lifestyle. You're reinforcing a lifestyle. Why is that important? How is that important? And I think for our listeners, if I'm on the other end, I'm hearing this conversation, I'm saying, okay, I hear you guys with all that lifestyle stuff, but could you give me some clear directives on how to begin the lifestyle change? What are some things? Because I think I'm hearing lifestyle change. And how important, as we recognize and honor Minority Health Month, talk a little bit about lifestyle change, and what are some of your tricks to enforcing that lifestyle and reinforcing that lifestyle? And I'll start with Dr. Melvin, and then we'll go into Brittany.
I think one of the things for sure, Kurt, is you may not be able to avoid getting diabetes. You may not be able to avoid having heart disease. You may not be able to avoid having hypertension. A lot of these things clearly are genetic. We know that, so we have a genetic predisposition to those things. You may be genetically going to be overweight and obese. Now, those are European scales when we use the BMIs and so forth. And if you got a BMI that's 27 to 29, you're overweight. Mine was 32. I'm not sure what it is now. I hope I'm at least just in the overweight area. But it's okay with me. I'm better than I was. So the fact is, this is a journey. It's like everything else is. Kurt, it's a journey.
Wow.
The fact is, I'll tell you the truth. Seeing those family reunion pictures, as the years progressed, the last 5 years, I can't stand seeing my picture. You know, because I just look way too big. And, I like to think that I'm looking pretty good, but now you see the picture in reflection yourself. And I just don't like the pictures when I see the family reunion. So I actually use that this time as motivation. And I've been like other people. I've tried many, many times. But this year, because I wasn't feeling good, because I was 65 years old, I used that as a motivation. And as my brother was saying, he said, you know what, you're going to go back to being as dedicated as you were when you came to medical school in 1975. And I believed that.
So you found your why.
Yes. I believed that. And so, as I told you, I drove back over to the medical school over at UC, and I drove back over to Good Sam and Bethesda Hospital, and then I drove back over to Clifton Colony over in Clifton where I lived as a freshman, and then I drove over to Skyline on Ludlow, and I had a nice three-way and sat there and just reflected on everything that I had done in 1975. And I said, that's how dedicated I am going to be.
Wow.
I believe what my brother said. If you really are going to make this happen this time, you're going to have to find a way to motivate yourself to be as motivated as you were the last time you were critically challenged. And when I was a freshman in medical school, coming to the big white medical school, I was critically challenged, and I met the challenge. I tell young people all the time, there are no obstacles because an obstacle is going to get in your way. They're nothing but challenges. And a challenge, you have to raise your level and meet the challenge so you can get on past it.
That's right.
And so that's what I said I'm going to do. And so I went back to that, and I got busy. I did have a stress test in December, and it came out good. And so I said, okay, I'm ready to go. I had joined FitWorks, but I hadn't been yet for 3 or 4 weeks. I had already joined it, but I hadn't gone.
Wow.
I've done just like I've done other times. I've joined several of those things, never went.
Yeah.
I've got a treadmill in the basement. Haven't used it. You know what's on my treadmill? Boxes of things. So not me, boxes of things. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to go do that this time. I'm going to go do everything that I have to do. No more potatoes in the house. No more potato chips.
Yeah.
I'm going to start eating the green stuff. Everyone has understood and said it in many different ways that's how you have to start. And so I started cooking better things in the house, and I started eating them at the beginning of the day, and that was at breakfast time.
Wow.
And then I actually went on over to FitWorks and started doing it. I walk up the stairs at work. Nikki knows I've been on the elevator with her just last week, and she knows I punch one of the other buttons. She says, oh yeah, you're gonna walk up the stairs. Now sometimes I walk up from the ground floor, sometimes I walk up from 1, sometimes I walk up from 2, sometimes I walk up from 3, but I do not take the elevator up to 4. So some days I'm better than others.
Right.
So this whole thing, and I want people to understand that it's still a journey, it's still a process. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. And that's what has been said about everything all along. And so I'm still in the process of getting healthier. And as I said, I'm 66 years old next week. I'm in the 3rd act of a 3-act play. But my intention is to make sure that at the end of the 3rd act, there will be an encore.
That's right. That's right. Brittany, what do you want to add to that in terms of lifestyle and ways to encourage and reinforce that lifestyle?
So, Dr. Melvin touched on we having to break those habits that we've become so used to, maybe starting with yourself, and then within our family dynamics, some people will push back in your family, but creating what I like to call a legacy of health and wellness. We've become complacent. Well, that's how my mom made it. You know, that's how I always ate it. No, there's no gym next to me, so it's not convenient. And so we become complacent with this lethargic lifestyle. And so making those small changes, like Nikki, keeping those appliances on the counter, even if you do not use them every day, but making it easier for yourself. Keeping gym shoes in your car. I mean, it's the small tweaks that we can make. Swapping out regular sugar for stevia. And so even if you go to the coffee shop and you want a grande latte, extra whip with drizzle, that's fine. You're not eating it every single day. And then what I like to put an emphasis on is I have a niece who just got her stress test back from Silverton Paideia School. She actually works with Mercy Health, and they come in and do stress tests on these youth. And it comes back as obese. She's in the 90th percentile of the students at her school. But if you look around, majority of the students at the school is obese.
They're also developing type 2 diabetes as young teenagers.
That's right.
12 and 13 years old, they've got type 2 diabetes,
That's right.
which has historically been called adult onset diabetes.
That's right.
All of us will develop adult onset diabetes because it's probably genetically there. But all adults have insulin resistance. That's what it's called. It's called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is driven by obesity. So in your family, in your house, and so forth, people who are developing diabetes had insulin resistance driven by obesity, and that takes 5 or 10 years before you'll be diagnosed with diabetes. So I tell people the truth is that 5 or 10 year window is when people have pre-diabetes, and all the almost diabetes, and a touch of sugar, and all the other terms that we call it. But it's all based on the same thing. But our young kids, 12 and 13 years old, you talk to pediatricians, it's all over the place that they're now developing adult onset diabetes. But we can do something about that. And they've stopped gym at school, so of course you don't do any activity, and they eat all those fast foods. They always say, you know, instead of whatever kind of formula babies they are, now they're McDonald's fed babies.
And so touching on that, my mother, she passed away from type 1 diabetes. So my niece is already genetically predisposed to type 1 diabetes and onset of adult diabetes, type 2. And so breaking that, and it's the smallest things. After I pick her up for 10 minutes, we can go to Roselawn Park and walk around, and we can talk about what she did at school. Just creating those small habits, it's normal for her to see the inside of a gym growing up. I never saw the inside of a gym growing up. Why? Because my parents never brought me to a gym. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know the difference between white and wheat bread and hummus. But exposing our youth to those small things, it's going to become natural as they grow up. And what really is kind of frustrating is, so I'll put my family dynamic out there. My brother, my twin brother, he's 28 years old, and he's on blood pressure medication. So he does have high cholesterol and high blood pressure at 28. And what happens is he makes some good money, and so he's lacking the self-discipline it takes to make healthier and smart decisions throughout the day. And it's as simple as, oh my goodness, I really want that Skyline. And every single time you say you want it, he can go get it. Why? Because he can afford it. And so now that we have a little bit of change in our pockets, whatever we want, we indulge in. So every single morning, because I know I have $5.39 in my pocket, I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get exactly what I want. Instead of having self-discipline and enjoying those small rewards every now and then, and refraining from going to McDonald's every single time I'm craving it, or eating that ice cream every single time I'm craving it, because we're lacking self-discipline because it's not always around us. So surrounding ourselves with those healthier options makes it easier to avoid those temptations.
Yes, it does. And you know, I'll tell you this too, Brittany. For me, you know, I like certain ice cream, and so my chocolate chip ice cream is in the freezer still. It's been in there for a long time. The good thing about that is I have it in the freezer, so when I go back to Kroger's and walk back by the freezer where the ice cream is, I don't have to get it because I've got some. But I hardly ever go in there to eat it. So it's kind of almost a deterrent. And I'm going to tell you something. You were 216 pounds. I'm like bringing down the house. Shazam. Because you know what? You look like Erica Badu. And you can make me put my phone down.
You better call Tyrone. All right. That's what's up, y'all. Once again, man, we want to thank Dr. Melvin, Brittany Long. We are talking about Minority Health Month, and we are at this point we're dealing with reinforcing a healthy lifestyle, reinforcing the healthy behaviors. And so, you know, listening to Dr. Melvin talk, I got one thing: find your why. You know, we're talking about some tricks or some keys, things that we want to hone in on as we create this healthy lifestyle. So find your why. There was a lot built into that. Then I'm hearing Brittany on this side, and both of them are saying the same thing: make some investments. Make the investment in the workout gear. Make the investments in the appliances or the things that you need to encourage that healthier eating and healthier lifestyle. And then I want to ask Nikki a question, because the third thing that I want to go into in terms of lifestyle change, and actually, Dr. Melvin, you made me think of this when you said some days I'll take it to the second floor, some days the third floor. So every day, you know, your output might not be the same, but you're challenging yourself each day. Here's one of the things that I hear about a lot of times, Nikki, and I know that you've been really getting into your running lately and into your cardiovascular. And so when we talk about fitness and we talk about an individual's fitness level, a lot of times people will get very, very discouraged, because they'll say, Kurt, I started this exercise program, but I'm just horrible at it. I can only go 5 minutes, and I was out of gas, and I felt like I was going to die. And so we don't want people to get discouraged. And so I'll lead in, and Nikki, I want to ask you a question, but we want to remember that fitness is the body's or the biology's ability to redistribute oxygen to muscle tissue during increased physical exertion. A fitness level can be improved upon. So just because you might start at one fitness level doesn't mean you don't have the potential or the ability to increase or to improve on that fitness level. Is that right, Dr. Melvin?
Correct.
Okay, so Nikki, I want to talk about your personal story. What have you been doing personally? Because somebody out there is going to identify with this. What have you been doing personally in the last few weeks to improve your personal fitness level?
It's kind of funny. So one, I had to find my why. And it came from, again, one of our sessions here when we talked about eating and was eating for fuel and the relationship with the food. So I found really my why. It was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. So in terms of fitness, I just decided, one, I was going to stop paying. The reason why I stopped paying is because I was wasting my money. Because I would go work out, I was going to different classes, I was doing this, that, and the third. but then I wasn't putting in the work in terms of my nutrition. So really, I was staying at one weight, but that wasn't my goal. My goal is I want to lose weight. So I took everything that I learned from Brittany, from Kurt, from Denise Bryers, from William Simpson, from Jimmy Canyon, from Marquita Canyon. I can name all 30 people in this city that I have either trained with, worked with, Vincent O'Neill. I mean, I can keep going and going that I've learned from. But I was not trying to beat anybody else or do what anybody else was doing. Right now, I focus on what I want to do. So I built my playlist, and my favorite song is Sounds of Blackness. Optimistic. As long as you keep your head to the sky,
yeah, that's right.
You can win.
That's right.
And there's something about that word win, and I felt like a winner. The next thing I know, it never happened before, and I ran in and I told her. So I used to do C25K. I've done it several times. It teaches you in intervals how to run. Again, I run slow. I run at a jog pace, you know, and I stop in between there, get my walk in. I'll check my heart rate. I do like to watch my heart rate and make sure on my Fitbit that I'm moving up. But some days it doesn't. If it doesn't, I'm okay with it as long as I kept going, as long as I completed something. So sometimes I have a goal in terms of miles that day. Sometimes it might be my heart rate. But last week when it just kept saying, it was the optimistic and it was Fred Hammond, late in the midnight hour, God's going to turn it around and it's going to work in your favor. I am not lying. I looked up and I had ran around Mercy 3 times without stopping, without huffing and puffing. There was no wheezing.
That's it.
No,
it's amazing,
nothing.
Nikki.
And it let me know, like, gosh, all I needed was a little bit of me and a little bit of God. It was more so a lot of God. I just needed him to guide me through what I was trying to get through and be serious. Again, I'm not trying to be anybody else's miles. You know, I have a lot of encouragement on Instagram as I watch people and what they do, but it was, I want a job and I knew I wanted to do it. I have not taken any of my asthma medication, and not long ago, I was taking asthma medication every day.
Wow.
I was having to hit Symbicort twice a day. I had to take a pill in the morning, and I was having to take an albuterol while I was jogging, and I couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
And it came out of nowhere, and when I said I was starting to wheeze in my sleep, and I could not figure it out. But prayer and meditation in the morning made a difference as well. I listen to John Gray as well right before I start running. I listen to him doing my warm-up, and it was like just some encouragement. And for some reason, that's what got my fitness level really going. So now, I'm not going to stay not paying, don't get me wrong. I just had to get serious. Because it will become discouraging if you are putting dollars in somewhere and you are not seeing any form of benefit, but you have to take accountability for yourself. And that's one thing. I don't blame anybody anytime I have not seen a result. I am always able to come back and say, it was me. I'll never forget, and I'm going to wrap myself up.
No, go for it.
Denise Bryers, I was going to Boot Camp Cincinnati, and I love Boot Camp Cincinnati. Anybody that knows me knows I love boot camp, period. I was going hard. I was going even 5 in the morning, and I was only losing a couple pounds. And Denise said to me, she was like, you know what, you might need to see a dietitian. And I busted out laughing like, girl, I done seen a dietitian. I done had a specialist. And she looked at me, I was like, I know what's wrong.
Right.
I was like, I like Cheetos.
Yeah.
I was like, so you want to know what happened during my detox? I detoxed that day, But then in between there, I had 4 Buskin Bakery donuts. I also had my Cheetos. So
Standing the truth. That's right.
What my accountability level is. And then during that process, from now on, I write down. If I touch it, if it goes near my mouth, I am writing it down.
Yeah,
I
log
hold
it.
myself accountability.
That's
so
right.
it's all about, if I did it, it goes into my Fitbit app. It's in there. So I know what I did. And then again, take what you've learned. There's lots of free stuff going on, especially during the summer. Go to those classes. Get with the trainer. There's people offering something everywhere. We really don't have a reason to
talk to your physician.
Exactly. Go to your physician. What can I do? Even if you do 10 jumping jacks.
There you go.
Yeah,
Say that again, Dr. Melvin.
Comply with the recommendations.
Yes.
If you go to any professional for anything, you should comply with what they recommended. Otherwise, don't go. And I say this, Nikki, for what you're saying. It's like I tell my son, you can't fill my shoes. I can't fill my father's shoes. I want you to fill your shoes. You put on this type of shoes that you know you want to wear, and you fill those. You fix your own goals. You meet your own challenges and so forth. And that's what we all have to do. And what you're just saying is that you have to be honest with yourself. Even practicing medicine, with people who come in and their sugar, a young man yesterday, his sugar, when he stuck his finger, was only 65. His hemoglobin A1C was 11. So he was tricking me again. I keep telling people, I'm okay with what I'm doing. Ain't no sense in you tricking me because I see your A1C and that drops a dime on you. Your A1C for diabetes should be less than 7 and ideally less than 6.5. Why? Because diabetics whose hemoglobin A1C is less than 6.5 do not have any complications of diabetes, such as peripheral neuropathy, where your feet are numb and tingly, peripheral vascular disease, where they're cutting off toes and legs, renal vascular disease, where they put you on dialysis, cerebral vascular disease, where you're having a stroke, and cardiovascular disease, where you're having a heart attack and congestive heart failure. So if your hemoglobin A1C, if you're diabetic, is less than 6.5, then you don't have any of those complications, or retinopathy and losing your eyesight. So your objective is less than 6.5. But don't come in here to trick me, not eat anything for 12 or 13 hours, and then they stick your finger and your sugar's only 65, and then we stick your other finger and your hemoglobin A1C is still 11, because you're still in trouble.
Right.
But it isn't going to matter to me. The only thing I can do is show up at your funeral.
Right.
But I've been recommending and advising you every 3 months when you come to the doctor. The fact is, it's up to you to comply. And when you say to me, Doc, there's no way, I am eating low carbs. I'm not eating my stuff. It's what you just said, Nikki. You have to look in the mirror. You know good and well. Yes, you didn't eat it today.
That's
but
right.
You know what? Last night, you had 3 or 4 donuts before you went to bed and a big old glass of milk. So don't come in and tell me those kinds of things. So you have to be honest with yourself.
That's right.
If you have decided that you're now actually going to live a healthier lifestyle and actually reach some goals that will allow you to have the encore in your life later, then you actually have to be honest and make sure you're complying with what you're doing. I don't buy the potato chips because if I do, I'm going to eat the whole darn bag up. I don't buy the potatoes because if I do, I'm going to eat the whole darn bag up. So I've just learned, just don't bring those things in. Bring in some better things for me to eat, and then those are things that I can, if I want to abuse them, I'll abuse them. But I'm abusing greens and green beans. So I've learned to do better. I tell people, you can't keep eating mashed potatoes and gravy because you know you got to have some biscuits and rolls to wipe up the plate. Some of those folks I got wipe up the plate so clean they don't even have to put the plate in the dishwasher.
Wow. Brittany, you want to talk about a little bit to the point of improving your and I'm telling you, Dr. Melvin just came out 2-3 more points.
I was wrong.
No, that was perfect.
Some of my people gonna say, you know, he's wrong. He's talking about me.
I hope all my clients was listening to that. I hope every one of my clients was listening. Brittany, you want to talk about just improving one's fitness level, and then we go from there.
Wait, what am I talking about? What's going on, y'all?
Shout out to Erykah Badu. She's in town tonight.
She's in town tonight, y'all. Go check her out.
Okay, so Brittany, we're going, and I'm gonna run down the list of things, but I want to just have you chime in on improving your personal fitness level and how not to get discouraged.
And so, Kurt mentioned it earlier that your fitness level can be improved. There's small increments that you can base your fitness level on and how they increase. And so when you're take those small steps, download a fitness app. Get a tracker, and you don't have to get a $90 tracker, Fitbit or Polar Watch. Go to Walgreens and invest in a $15 tracker, and you're going to end up finding what your target heart rate is and trying to stay within those target heart rate zones, even if it's just for 5 minutes at a time. Those small changes will reap huge benefits. Other ways to track your increase in fitness level is what you used to do with your trainer or your boot camp classes and your endurance for 20 minutes. Now you can do them for a full 40 minutes. The small things at home, when you're doing 10 push-ups during commercial breaks, now you can do 20 push-ups during commercial breaks. All those small things show that you're improving. It does not always look, that increases in your fitness does not always show on the scale. Throw those scales away. If you're only seeing your weight 3 times every 3 months with your doctor, great. All those other small changes, like how your clothes fit, it will show your increase in fitness levels. And so don't get hung up on always checking on the scale, but knowing what your BMI is, your body fat percentage, your inches, and how your clothes fit. Kurt, does that kind of touch on what you're looking for?
Totally.
I think we've gotten.
I think too. You know, I try to equate the losing weight and so on and so forth with the investing your money. This is the same kind of an investment. if you put your money in an IRA, you can't turn on the news every morning and see that Donald Trump said something and so the market went down. You can't call and say, well, how much money do I still have now? You have to leave it alone because it's truly a long-term investment. The fact is, at the end of the day, when you have gotten to the latter part of your journey, then you'll see where you are. And you don't have to even check your investment to know that you've made some money. You know that over the long haul, your money has actually improved and increased and so on. It's the same way that you see. You eventually, it's like for me, I didn't really know that I had lost weight until I went to the second doctor, and when I was weighed, I was down 9 pounds. Like, wow, I didn't even know I was down 9 pounds because I wasn't checking. And then when I saw a doctor 2 and 3 months later, I was down 20 pounds. And so now, yesterday I did get on the scale. The scale was 197, but I started really at 223 pounds. But when I first went to the doctor, it was at 220. So I just said, I took that starting point, and the doctor said it was 220, and now it's 197. But I was still dressed, so if I was totally undressed, it's probably 196 or whatever. So I say it's probably 23, 24 pounds. I don't really care what that number is. The fact is, I'm a lot less than I was, and when it all shakes out in the end, I will probably be maybe 190. And I had that as a in the sky target. I'd like to be 190 pounds, but I've been saying that for 25 years. Now I'm about to arrive at 190, and I'm not even watching to see when I get there.
That's it.
In fact, the people are telling me, because everywhere I go, whatever, they say, Dr. Melvin, you're losing, wherever I show up, say, Dr. Melvin, you're losing weight. That's the one in the piece. That is the embracing part. That is now the encouraging, inspirational part and motivational part for me to keep doing whatever it is that I'm doing. Because now that's the new part of my ministry. I'm now walking and talking, or I'm now talking and walking. So now, as a physician and a person who has influence in the community, people are just impressed not only by what I'm saying, but also what you're doing. So that's the whole piece that I've liked. And so now I'm scared to go back the other way.
That's right. Amen.
Oh my goodness.
Because now they're going to talk about me like a dog.
That's right.
This was such an awesome segment. I just have really enjoyed Dr. Keith Melvin and Brittany Long being here with us as we talked about minority health. Again, it was such a pleasure and an honor to have both of you here. If anybody has some takeaways, one thing I would say it would definitely be 1, find your why. 2, make some investments. 3, work to improve your personal fitness level. 4 would be to comply with your professional and your doctor, your trainer. And number 5, most of all, be honest with yourself. Know what you're doing. Be honest and say, I know I had those chips, or I know I had it. Log it, track it. It's okay, because it'll help you back in the long run. Brittany, do you have anything to say before we close out?
Thank you for inviting me in. This was nice. This was great.
Great. Kurt, Dr. Melvin.
Well, thank you so much. And Nikki, it kind of reminds me of if you're going to decide to stay with your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're going to let them go. You get out a piece of paper and you write down all the good things and then write down all the bad things. And if all the good things are better, then stay. If all the bad things is a longer list, then maybe it's time for you to change and do something else. And I think that's how we have to look at many, many things in life. Write it down on a piece of paper, and that's what you're saying. You just got to be honest with yourself. If you don't like him, go ahead and get rid of him.
That's it.
Let him go.
He gone.
Thanks for tuning in again to Your Inspiration Health, sponsored by Mercy Health Physicians. I'm Nikki Bean here with Kurt Phillips, special guest Brittany Long, and Dr. Keith Melvin. Enjoy your day.